workshop underway. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order, and if everybody would stand up and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. Let's see. Amy, would you mind doing the roll call, please?
Sure. It appears Councilmember Amara will be absent today. Councilmember Berlant.
I am here. Council Amara is in the attendees list, though, if you want to add her in.
Oh. Okay, so Councilmember Amara is here. Councilmember Dowden Calvillo.
Present.
Riddell Harris.
Here.
And Mayor Spokley.
Here. Thank you very much, Amy. Any public comments received, Amy?
It was not last time I checked. Let me check live really quick. There is no public comment for this meeting.
And do we have any public comments from the folks that are on the line here? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and roll right into our first items. I'm gonna preface this with Daniel has done such a great job with all of the updates and tracking all of this stuff. So I might lean on you a little bit, Daniel, if you're okay with that. I did attend the HHC meeting this afternoon, and I do have some reports from that meeting. I think it's no surprise to anybody, but our numbers continue to get a little worse. Our current, let me pull it up here. Our current ICU bed threshold percentage looks like it's down at about 14.8. I guess that's kind of where it's been, and that's what got us on the naughty list for the shutdown.
It actually it's actually went up because it was 13.3, I think, yesterday. So we might be going up.
Well, that would be good if we were. Unfortunately, once we're on the list, unless I'm misunderstanding, we're on it for 3 weeks at least. Yep. So,
yes.
So we went through those numbers real quickly. Talked about a lot of different things, the number of new cases per day. It looks like, or sounds like, according to HHC, it's 160 to 200 new cases per day in our county. They said a significant number of those are ending up in the ICU, and we didn't get too much into the granular details, but that just seems like quite a bit. The sleep train arena, we talked about that next. That is being set up again as a not necessarily a surge facility, in that they're going to take the less critical care patients, send them out there, freeing up some of the ICU beds that are now being occupied by the marginal critical care patients, which should help us with some bed count data, of course. We spent a little bit of time talking about test sites and turnaround times, and we still seem to have a problem with. I'm going to go let my dog out. I need 1 second. I'm sorry, everybody. Give me 1 second. I love working from home. The testing site and the turnaround time for the test is still something that just kind of puzzles me. And I get it. They're doing so many of them that it's just it's a sheer volume thing. Sounds like the average test turnaround time is around 72 hours. So making contact tracing that much more of a challenge. And given the increase in cases, I don't expect that rate to go down. It sounds like right now in our region, we're sending, or at least in Placer County, we're sending our tests that we conduct in Placer County down to Southern California, where a new lab has recently been opened. But 72 hours seems like a long time. Again, I think it's just a sheer volume problem that we've got going on. We talked briefly about the rapid testing, the antigen testing that's done. The doctor mentioned that it's just less reliable than the deep swab testing that's been done. We then kind of jumped over to the vaccine situation. And this was a little bit of positive news. Pfizer is got about 4,000 doses of their vaccine headed to our county. They will be directed towards acute care hospital workers. They're supposed to get here next Wednesday, potentially. As soon as next Wednesday, we could see those. And Moderna also has some vaccine headed our way, but it's a little bit behind. It sounds like the county is estimating we've got about 2,900 doses that are expected to get here before the end of the year. So right around the Christmas holiday. When we asked about, okay, what about the rest of the general public and when might there be wider spread availability of the vaccines, it looks like that's still kind of tracking in the first quarter, late first quarter, March, April timeframe. When their general public vaccines are expected to be here in the county. I asked a question of Todd Leopold and the doctor, is there anything we can do to help expedite vaccines ending up in our county? And expectedly the answer was not really. But if something does come up, they'd certainly let us know. It's it's difficult, obviously. Let's see. We talked a little bit about the PPP funding round that is expected to be maybe approved next week from the federal government. I think Placer County is expecting that money to get to us fairly quickly, unlike the last round of PPP loans that came through for municipalities. Those dollars went directly to the state, and it took, I'm pretty certain that the state got those dollars in and around April, May timeframe, and maybe it was May, June timeframe. We didn't see the final allocation for Placer County until Todd said the end of October, which is unbelievable, but that's what happened. This new program is supposed to distribute the money directly to the counties. So that should streamline timing significantly. I don't know what the lag was between, May and October with the state, but if it comes directly to the county, they're already talking about how they're going to get it out to businesses that need the money as fast as they can. So not a lot of good news. Obviously with the shutdown, it's been really tough on our businesses, the 20% thing and the curbside pickup only for our restaurants, 20% occupancy for our retail establishments is frankly devastating for many of them, as we know. So that is kind of the update from the call. Daniel, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you covered that well. I have a couple things, but I think they can wait till another item.
Okay, great. Let's move on to city actions and services. John, do you want to pick this one up?
Sure. Couple of things. Okay, so basically all this rolled out effective at 12:01 this morning. So lots of things going. Most of this was rolling starting on Wednesday. We started pushing a lot of information, mostly through social media, sharing that with the chamber for them to get that out to the business community on things. I will tell you that literally today our phones started blowing up with people calling in on various things, reporting businesses. So basically our response right now is just, hey, information, taking some of the businesses, the need for a solid city map, because people are calling regarding all sorts of businesses in the greater Auburn area, especially, so many of the health gyms and all that stuff are all located in the commercial centers. So lots of calls. Like I said, the yoga and the fitness area are very competitive for some reason. Survey is calling on all of them. Most of the calls are being handled through either code enforcement or they're coming to me. So what I'm doing is I'm just calling the businesses and I'm saying, look, you have to go find out where you're at. It's actually pretty easy for a lot of them. You're closed and you have to do that. So bottom line, over the course of the next week, we're going to be doing quite a bit of education with everybody. And
John,
yeah, go ahead.
I just want to clarify. My understanding is that they are supposed to be closed, but can they do outdoor? I understood that they can do it outdoors. So, and question one, and then question two, if that's the case, can the city help out in that regard? Because I think some of these gyms are, don't know how to partition space off. So those are my two questions. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, question one, good question. Yes, you can do practically anything you want to do outdoors except eat. So if they want to move their things outdoors, I will share with you that anybody that calls that says that they want to do yoga or Pilates or those types of things in the park, I just tell them to go and do it. I go, that's fine. If you can find a space to do it, get with ARD at some of their locations. If they want to go into the school park area behind City Hall, I tell them just to go for it. There's nothing wrong with people using parks on things. So yes, on the outside. And what was the second question?
Oh,
And the city
it was more or less that. Are we helping with the outdoors? And that's all. Thank you. You answered that.
Okay. Good. So anyway, like I said, trying to figure all this stuff out. One of the questions that I asked Dr. Oldham is about the 3 weeks. So the way that the state, CDPH, and the governor are looking at this, essentially we're in a period that's going to run now until right after the first of the year. So it will be the entirety of the holidays. So the understanding is that they're going to come back. They're going to do a reevaluation of everything. So at this point, we're just taking a wait and see attitude to see where all that lands. But we have some good information, and that we're just going to keep on pushing. And that's probably the most of the city actions. I can tell you that on the overall work program, some of the things that we're working on, the Shop Auburn Live, we are going to be in another location, Froggies, which I think is in the greater Auburn area near Les Schwab. So we're going to take our show on the road a little bit, but we're going to keep with that. I still need to set a time to meet with the business associations and the chamber just to talk about strategy on everything. I will tell you that I was out at Echo Valley Ranch store today, and I met with Greg and Connie out there. They gave me a preview of basically it's like a horse stall thing that totally works. It actually looks better than the carports at Home Depot. and they're relatively inexpensive. I have asked our building official to go over to Echo Valley. I know that there are some establishments that are looking to put those in, and we asked for some structural drawings, and I said, well, these are like pre-engineered horse stalls that you can buy any place. So at the end of the day, we're going to do our best to streamline. I will tell you that the ones that they have at Echo Valley, they look fine. It's a corrugated metal top, and it's got a little horse stable-y looking on it, but I wouldn't kick it out. I think it looks fine. You put some of those flower things around it, it looks significantly better than an Easy Up. So we're going to work through all of that, but we still need to meet. One of the things that I've been telling people about the 25,000, I appreciate the council giving me the wild authority on all 25K. We are going to be responsible. We have to be timely with it, and we have to be strategic. So I'll get with April, Nina, Jackie, and see what we can do. But we'll figure out how to put the money on the road. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Hey, John, the Echo Valley shelters that you mentioned, those would be intended for outdoor exercise? Because I think outdoor dining is prohibited, right?
It is. The covers and the outdoor dining are going to have to wait. The one message that I will tell you is that we are not going to buck the system at this point. We'll let others do that for us. Just down the road.
John, you and I talked about that yesterday. Can you kind of explain what you're thinking there?
So obviously Placer County, I think everybody is taking as this thing rolls out, it's a very large area, and it's actually most of the state of California. And the idea that we're going to try and either buck the system or try and bring public pressure probably isn't necessarily in our best interest. It's better to let other people fight that battle on other fronts for us. So I think taking a very responsible approach, encouraging businesses to adhere to the guidelines. The one thing that we are doing, we can take it right up to the line. We need to let people know, retail is open. Yep, they have to scale down the number of people, but they're open. For the restaurants that are going to stay open, promoting them for all their takeout. But the one important message is we need to tell people that they need to follow the guidelines, because the ramifications can be significant. That good-looking couple that walks into your restaurant, winks at you and says, hey, can we sit inside here and eat? They could be from ABC, and they will shut you down. And we need to tell people to be responsible and work with us on this thing.
I think I saw Jackie a moment ago raise your hand. Jackie, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I know that one establishment is looking to do it for their takeout. It wasn't for outdoor eating, so they could have more space for people to wait for their food and stuff like that. So it's not necessarily for outdoor eating. It's for like coming to take out or coming to pick up or order stuff and also retail to have more space for people to wait outside or to even do like sidewalk sales type stuff. Since their ability to have as many people inside has decreased.
Right. Thank you, Jackie. One of the things that John and I talked about recently was the fact that, this order, with all of the bad it has, it also mandates the 20% for some of the big box folks or all of the big box folks. So I don't know, a marketing scheme or a marketing ploy to say, hey, if you can't get into Costco or Target, come come into town and see if you can get into our shops, because we've got great stuff here. It kind of cuts both ways. So maybe something to think about there. Any other questions for John? Daniel?
I was just going to mention what Jackie said, but then I also would just stress for all of us for, planning stages. At this point, we're talking 3 weeks, if that's even longer, but I would assume that we're just going to go backwards on the tiered system once we, get through the stay-at-home order. And so going back to focusing on outdoor dining as we go from purple down to red, down to orange, and down to yellow, I think continues to, be a focus. And it may take time for those kind of products to get in. I know April mentioned the delays last week in ordering heaters. So I wouldn't want us to say, well, because we can't do outdoor dining now, that we're not focused on that. I do think that April and Jackie made a good point about the pickup, structuring, but I also just want to keep focusing on long-term outdoor dining. And then one more piece on, the Echo Valley portion of this. It's not just that they carry them, but it's the fact that they're also a local business. So instead of us going to a big box store, like we were, preaching to everybody, let's make sure too that even if it looks kind of horsey, in talking to Jackie and April, I think that there's some very simple decorative, additions that we can make to change it away from being horse related and make it look like something that we could all be proud of. So just wanted to keep throwing us out there of this longer term vision, not just in this next 3 weeks component. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Alice, go ahead.
I agree with Daniel on this. I do think it's important to look at that long range, and I'm sure we can do something. Daniel, we can put some plants, April, we can hang garland or something so they don't look horsey, but I agree. I think we do need to look at that. And I don't want to wait too long because it's just going to continue to get tougher to find heaters now that it's actually getting cold in California. So, yeah.
And the rain's coming.
Yes.
Rachel, go ahead.
Hey, John, I just had a quick question about a process for if somebody is concerned about a business not following the rules. If somebody brings that up to me or to somebody else, what's that process that you'd like us to follow for just raising that concern?
Typically, what we do is we just get the location of the business, we write it down, but they simply need to call City Hall. Most of the time, what's Jennifer's number? It's just extension 209 here at City Hall. That is Jennifer Solomon, our code enforcement officer. I can tell you that everybody knows it's really easy to talk to the city manager here because I'm the first one on the phone tree. But they can either call me or Jennifer, and we take down the name of the business, approximate location, and then I can tell you, I just found it super easy. I just Google it and call and talk to the manager, and I shoot a lot of emails and information to them, and so it's a very simple process.
Okay, thank you.
So John, the volume of calls that Jennifer must be getting and you are getting, and I think you mentioned, is tremendous. At some point, all we can do is advise and educate. We're not going to enforce. Where do we stand 3 weeks from now or 2 weeks from now when businesses continue to defy and want to do their own thing out of sheer desperation, I presume? Yeah,
a good question. I think this is mostly going to probably come up with the restaurants because they are basically zeroed out. No outdoor dining. They're zeroed out. And I think really our approach is just going to have to be a lot of asking for them to do it. And we have to emphasize that because it's like I've told the council before, the reason why we would go towards any type of an enforcement action against somebody is to protect the herd, protect the rest of the businesses. Because if somebody, if you have a bad actor, they are going to draw the enforcement of other things. Our ticket is nothing compared to losing your ABC license. If you go on to, just for laughs and giggles, go on to the ABC website and apply for, just pretend that you're applying for, doing an application for a liquor license, and click the box that asks, have you had a previous license revoked or suspended? Click that box and see what happens to the questionnaire. Most of it simply just grays out, and it all of a sudden changes the questionnaire into give us your name, address, and explain what happened before. And if you want to get blacklisted, that's how you're going to do it. So anyway, we are going to basically plead with the businesses, because like I said, that mostly good looking couple that comes into your restaurant, it could all be a setup.
Thank you. Any other questions for John? Let's go to April, and then Jackie will come back to you.
The one thing about those horse stalls, I was because there's fitted roof panels that go above, and my understanding is if it's not level and square, that the roof panels won't fit on correctly. So I think that's the biggest problem. The stalls themselves seem really simple, and they clamp together and they can clamp to the asphalt. But most of these places that I'm talking to in downtown don't have a perfectly level spot. I mean, we could do it in Central Square, but other spots, that's going to need some addressing. And I think that's going to be the time consuming part that we need to spend time on to get them ready to go when outdoor dining is available again.
Yeah, no, when I was out there today, even the one at Echo Valley, they've kind of shimmed up a little bit. So you can do that. I think the ones that are on the hill going down the Mexican restaurant and all that stuff, they're a little more challenged. They may have to work their parking lot a little more aggressively, if not entirely.
But even like Monkey Cat, the curb there is really high up off the asphalt. So there's some kind of platform, even if they did it on the Cherry side. It's the parking spaces that are relatively flat, you know, like Cup Car and all. It's still, there's leveling that needs to be done. I don't know how to do that.
Yeah. So anyway, you're right, and I think we're just gonna have to work with it and figure it out. The one thing that's nice about it,
but in the interim,
yeah. But I would describe them, because I went out and I've looked at all the carport ones. The carport ones, I would rather have it look kind of horsey, and everybody's right. You can dress those things up just fine. A little gingerbread on them, they'll look fun. And so we're just gonna have to work with everybody. The thing that's even nicer is that they're really easy to clamp down. So we'll need some people with some decent tools, but our ability to lag those things into the concrete, make them create the shear and all that stuff. So we'll just need to work it out. We'll figure it out.
Jackie, you had another question?
Yeah, it was back to your point about the box store shopping. I know Daniel and John and even Amy and I have been working hard on those Shopping Auburn First videos, but Rob and I have been working with the county on their Shop Placer campaign that they're running, and it's really about not shopping at the big guys and not shopping on the internet, and really keeping it within Placer County. So I would suggest looking at that, because there's people doing videos about why it's important to shop local and why it's important to support our small business first. And there's a huge marketing campaign that the county has put together and put a lot of money into to support that too. So that might be something that the city can jump onto. I know Rob and I have been jumping onto it and getting videos done. Testimonial, Rob more than I, has been getting testimonials for it. So it might be something that Auburn can cohort with to get people to not shop at the big box stores.
Thank you, Jackie. Appreciate that. I'll move on to our next item on our agenda, which is the Placer Shares Program and additional grants. I mentioned already to the group that there supposedly will be some new stimulus money being approved next week. As mentioned, hopefully the money will be transferred directly to counties rather than going to states and then trickling down. That seems to be the direction we're heading, but we'll know more once they actually pass the legislation. The numbers that I heard was nationwide another $1 trillion, but who knows what they're doing back in Washington, so we'll have to wait and see. I did have one question that maybe it's already been looked into, but I'll just ask it again because based on my day job, I wasn't able to attend all of these workshops that Mayor Berlant put on, but are we exhausting all of our potential opportunities with SBA and some other grant dollars that the city already has? Is there any possible way that we can get some leniency on some of those loan programs? Again, they're not grants, they're loan programs. Some of them are loan programs, but is there any leniency we can get in applications that might be advantageous to our businesses? John, has that been looked into?
So on the call on, all the meetings are a blur, but it was the economic one. Jackie was there, maybe on Wednesday. Anyway, the Placer Small Business Development Center has been, they've been working that angle all they can. The reality of all the small SBA stuff is that it all flows back down into the Placer Small Business Development Center, and they're working all of that. Quite frankly, we as the city of Auburn couldn't even compete if they're doing it because that's the way that they do it. So the answer to your question is no, we're not doing it because the larger body is on those. And I think we're all just as the money's flowing, the best bet is CARES. So that's what we're focusing on.
John, I was talking about some of the block grant dollars that I know the city has, and we've struggled over the years trying to get them out to businesses. I know they're intended for fairly specific purposes, but is there any way that those dollars can be utilized to help some of our struggling businesses?
Okay, so we just exhausted we maximized the last bit of EDBG money that comes down, and that was on the loan for Restaurant Josephine across from City Hall. So we've exhausted that, and not until the next funding cycle, which I think is in 2021, will we, it's what everybody hates about government. We put all of our money out the door so we get an equal amount back from the state. So, but we won't get that into 2021. And those are more business loan programs, which quite frankly may be a post-COVID type of thing that we may be able to get out to people. But as of right now, we really are not at liberties because we've already sent we've committed all of our money out the door in the one business loan that we did do.
All right, thank you. Daniel, I saw your hand up.
I was just going to mention, I did send out to this group on November 30th, the state's announcement of additional state grant funding that I believe is being administered by the state. So I was curious if John and Jackie, if there was any conversations with the county economic group, but on November 30th, they announced an additional $500 million for COVID relief grants for small businesses through the California Office of Small Business Advocate. And so to me, it seemed like this was right in line with some of the work we're doing, and maybe there's not maybe, I would think that there'd be ability to leverage that dollars with our own dollars, with the Placer Shares dollars. So I would hope that the business associations, or hopefully the county economic committee, is discussing how the state grant program could be leveraged, and how we can continue to advocate for our own businesses to apply through that program. And I can recirculate it if anybody needs. That did go out what seems like 3 years ago, but it was 12 days ago. But I did find the email. So if anybody needs that information, happy to share. But I would hope that on that same thread, Meredith spoke that you're mentioning, I think this is one that we definitely want to see how much of the 500 million the state's given away that maybe we could qualify for. If, I don't even know if what all of the parameters are, to be honest with you. A lot of times vulnerable populations, disadvantaged communities rate a bit higher. But to be honest with you, didn't see any of that in at least the press release itself.
Thank you, Daniel. Rachel, go ahead.
Yes, I had heard several times that some of the state money might not go to counties if they're not complying with some of the rules and regulations around some of these different health orders. Is there any concern that Placer County may not get the money, and therefore we won't get some of the money that we need for our businesses because of the issues we're having with compliance, having to do with some of that? I don't know exactly all the details.
Yeah, I've certainly not heard.
To follow that point, that's exactly, that's kind of one of the reasons why we've said we'll let other people fight the battles on things. It doesn't do us any good to not comply, because precisely what you're describing could happen. Yeah, I think there's a much larger picture looking at the ramifications on other things that they could roll back on a county like Placer. So good behavior, I think, is important.
So maybe even if something happens to the county, we might still be able to get money for us doing the right thing, even if the county's maybe not doing the same things. Okay.
I don't, Mr. Mayor, I don't think that we're in line to receive any monies directly from the state. It's all going to trickle down from the county. As far as I understand it, I mean, even with the federal stimulus, I don't think that cities, especially a city of our size, would get any monies directly. So I think we are dependent upon the monies that come through the county. But I think that there are some monies that are coming from the feds that are going directly. The state, it's my understanding the state isn't going to have its hand in it. It's going to have to go from the feds to pass through the state without any control directly to the counties. So, they're always changing the distribution guidelines and criteria. But, John, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that there is the opportunity for us to receive any monies from the state through the CARES program directly. They need to come through us through the county.
You're correct. The population threshold for direct allocation was 500,000 people. Yeah. So if we want to get it directly, we're going to have to up our game a little bit.
We're going to have to annex Roseville and Rockland and Orangevale and Citrus Heights. And
I think seriousness, it's that the threshold's 500,000 pop on things, or it's just like you said. It has to come through the state to the county to us.
And I think the important part, at least my understanding of what's being talked about in this next stimulus package, is to not allow the state to mess with it. It's going to flow through them without any interference down to the counties, and then the counties can get it out to the cities. Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm hearing at this point. I mean, obviously they are having a difficult time getting it together back east. But that's what I'm hearing too, Mr. Mayor, is that it is meant to funnel through the state strictly as a mechanism, but that there won't be any handling of those dollars. It'll just be an automatic pass through. Let's hope that's what happens.
Yes, Let's all
But,
hope.
but the money that's coming from the state directly would still go to the counties and then to us. So that would
Yes.
be impacted by what the state it wants us to do.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct.
Mr.
All
Mayor,
right. Yeah, go ahead.
if I could just, I think to Councilwoman Riddell Harris's point, the cities and the counties that I've heard over the last several months where the state has actually been vocal at pushing back, saying that they will hold back CARES funding is specifically those communities that have passed resolutions that are outside of the restrictions and where they've taken formal action. And so I know that our county has kind of taken the spotlight, a lot of it based on one county supervisor that doesn't speak for us or really speak for the county. And so I think our city's focus on education doesn't really rock the boat in my head or from what I've heard with the state. But I think the path we have been on, which has been still advocacy and still pushing back where appropriate, but also ensuring that we're educating people on the regulations and not telling people that they can break it. To me, I would see no reason why the state would be threatening our community or even our county, to be honest with you, at this point, because even at the county level, despite the one county supervisor that makes all the, gets a lot of public attention, the county is not allowing, a promotion of breaking regulations.
I think we're in good shape. I honestly believe we're in good shape. So.
All righty, let's move on to the next item, which is the PPE discussion. Jackie, do you want to take this one?
We still have some. We gave it away at Small Business Saturday, so we got rid of a bunch there. We gave a bunch away at Halloween. Amy had an open house that did phenomenal. It's Friday. Phenomenal. I can't give up.
Did really well.
It did.
Phenomenal.
I swear it's been a day. And I think we should probably have another one of those again as well. But anybody that calls and asks for it, I send them over to Amy, and Amy is Employee of the Year and goes down and meets with them and gets them exactly what they need and keeps our businesses going strong. Without Amy, we would be lost in this city.
So yes, indeed. So I haven't been down in the Rose Room. What kind of inventory, Amy and or Jackie, do we still have down there? Is it significant like it was at one point?
Just
I would guess that we probably have 100 boxes of 20 of this hand sanitizer, and the masks, we probably have 10 boxes of 40 boxes, if that makes sense. 10 cases of 40 boxes.
Wow.
But really, it's not it sounds like a lot, but it's really not a lot. If you look at how long we're probably going to be in this.
Yeah.
I have a small supply here, and I have people coming weekly to pick some up.
Good, good.
I was gonna say it's probably about 1/8 of what we started with, if even that.
Excellent. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to our Chamber of Commerce report.
Let's see how this goes. There's no guarantees. I want to thank Amy and Daniel and John. We've been killing it with the our Shop Auburn live videos. If you haven't seen them, they're on the Think Auburn First page that post council member Mackey started, and they've been wildly successful, probably more than any of us would have ever guessed. And we now have businesses requesting we come to them. We're trying to stick with businesses that need our help most of all, I think is kind of the idea we have, is the ones that are struggling, we want to pick them up and support them. So we will be going out to Froggy Ceramics in North Auburn, which is a little outside of city limits, but she was in city limits. And she's kind of struggling with getting her name out there. So join us on that. I'm also working with Rob and the County of Placer, like I said, on the Shop Placer program that they are promoting like crazy. So I have 2,000 buttons, 2,000 stickers, and about 500 window clings. If anybody wants some, I've got them. I had a lot of people, I posted it on a few pages yesterday, and I've had about 10 people come pick them up today, which is fantastic because it's just getting it out there to make sure that people are thinking locally. They're thinking Auburn first and Placer County second. Right, Cheryl? I got that right? And just making sure that our small businesses survive this. I think that's all I got. Alice has something.
I was just going to say, I'm going to come by and pick up a window cling. I'm going to put one on my car. So I'd encourage my colleagues to do the same on my rear window. So, as much advertising as we can do.
Well, and it should be mentioned that Alice is one of the VIPs on the Shop Auburn Live network. She buys quite a bit, as I think, Cheryl, you have as well, as has Jackie, Amy, John, and I. We all seem to be some of, buying more than maybe our Wallace want us to, but I should note that Alice is one of the VIP buyers of the local products on Shop Auburn Live. So thank you.
You guys call me out. Look, there's a cat thing.
A couple of the business owners said, I just expected them to come in and give me some, publicity. I didn't realize they were going to buy so much. So she said, you guys have been buying so many things.
That's great.
Oh, that's great.
I was told by my husband that we should probably stop doing them or else mortgage isn't going to get paid, but I also forgot that we did, John and I were out there with the Chabad of Roseville and we lit the menorah, or they set up the menorah, and then I came back with my kids later on yesterday evening and lit the menorah for the first night of Hanukkah. So that'll be out there for the next 8 nights, sitting ever so nicely next to the Christmas tree. They go well together beautifully, just as they are in my house too. So
Great. Thank you very much, Jackie. We'll jump into the Business Association reports. And April, do you want to get anything to report?
Well, we've been sending out emails to our entire membership list, which we hope is complete. Just making sure that we're not leaving anybody out when we're asking about what their needs are for this phase, and then for hopefully when we return back to the purple phase and later on. So that we'll be prepared to talk to the city about our needs and how to organize that effectively. I have to admit, I'm already thinking about how we can light the roof lines of all or most of the buildings in downtown Auburn. And I think we probably need to start that now to be ready for next season. So we just have so many great pieces of architecture in downtown. And there's just a lot of dark spots I notice when going between City Hall and downtown that I want to start working on that now and get it done. I think the city's public works crew did a fabulous job on the clock tower. That was really a labor of a million zip ties on those strings of lights, but it looks great. And hopefully, I don't know if you know, but we've run an extension cord because Norris didn't quite hook up the electricity. They hooked it up to the music, so it was going on and off with the music. So, but it looks beautiful, and we're very grateful. I think it's a great addition. And the weather permitting, I think the scaffolding should be coming down next week. He's welding and painting, and they're going to be cabling next Monday again, assuming the weather's fine, and then we'll get the lights up and we'll come down, and it'll be an awesome spot.
I saw the frame up. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's getting there. It's real.
I'm not gonna lie, I'll be happy when they're gone.
Yep. And I'm glad they finally came, and then when they'll be gone.
It looks phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun.
Hey, Rob, you want to go ahead and you got anything to report for us?
Yeah, well, we're just, and again, I did want to just really applaud Auburn's, local efforts. You got our town is really at the forefront of this entire movement. And, again, we have focused virtually all of our resources right now on it. Obviously, nobody's promoting any travel. So for us, it's a complete, 100% commitment, try to educate, try to bring it all together. Because again, and this is why I think what Jackie's talking about and what Alice and everybody's mentioned in terms of, I got my button on, but it's really about, mind setting people. And I think we've got a real good chance. And I think that the Auburn Live program is so unique and so interactive. It's really something you guys should think about doing a case study on, honestly, when it's all said and done. I think it's something that could be sold in the sense that it could be promoted as a program that's worth other communities looking at. Obviously, you got to have such an incredibly dedicated team of people to do it with big wallets, from what I understand. So we're going to continue to push that. I know some other communities are starting to do the same thing. If you guys get our newsletter, we just sent it out. We shared the Auburn video that Hannah Richardson did, the links to the different things. So again, I just think, and we're continue to try to get businesses to do these short videos. So, April, you guys, if you can get your folks to get an iPhone and do it, the county will promote it on their Facebook pages, will promote them. I think it's super important that people realize that, these things work through incessant, daily, dripping marketing, right? Like just keeping it in people's minds, keeping them thinking in these terms is what will get extra dollars our way. So that's kind of what we've been doing. We're going to do it all the way. And hopefully the county's talking about trying to continue with a think Placer kind of mentality post holidays. So keep an eye out for that. But again, I just really want to applaud the efforts of our town. I just think it's just really inspiring, honestly. Sherry Conway actually at the county literally said that when I sent her our newsletter, that she was proud to be living in Auburn. So kudos to you guys, and have a great Friday, everyone.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate that. I guess I'll just kind of wrap up here. We're at the end of our agenda. The Think Auburn First program and Shop Local is something that my wife and I talked to all of our friends about. My wife's, before we got back to the lockdown, would schedule outings on Saturdays with her girlfriends to go out and shop in downtown and Old Town, and just encourage all of your friends, anybody you come across, to do what they can to help support our businesses. Retail, restaurants, bars are all going to be suffering mightily through this next round here. It's going to hit them right where it's, hurts the most through the holiday season, when a lot of them have parties and different things going on. All of that stuff is gone. So continue to do what you guys have been doing, which is awesome. I know my wife and I plan on doing a lot of curbside pickup stuff to support our businesses. Just encourage all of the people to do the same thing. I know you've been doing it. The social media is a great way to do it. I'm not a big social media person, but I've seen some of the work you all have done, which is fantastic. And I guess I would just close in letting Jackie know, and maybe even Rob know, or any of you, April for sure, if you hear of businesses that are there, they're at the brink, let us know. I'm not sure exactly what we can do, but I think I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago when we had a couple of merchants saying that they're close to being done, closing doors. If there's folks that are there, let's rally our community. We've got a lot of really generous people in our community, and just maybe we can make a little difference for some of those folks. So please let us know if you're hearing of folks that are at the end of their road. Alice?
I was just going to say that I no longer have to shop for groceries because of all the takeout and eating out that we're doing our family. trying to be supportive. So there you have it. No more grocery shopping.
See, there's the silver lining right there.
Yeah.
Daniel.
Yeah, one thing we unfortunately we blew past the Placer Shares update before I could remember to bring this up. I just wanted to get everybody up to date that while we had reported and the Journal even did a story on it, and we took a victory lap over the Placer Shares program for the community-wide projects, it was brought to my attention that staff has been discussing not going forward with funding that, and that they even mentioned that to the other cities at their economic meeting. So Cindy and I are actually scheduled to call today, and Matt, maybe you and I can get in touch, but just wanted to bring everyone up to speed that though the county staff recommended it to the Board of Supervisors and the board all agreed unanimously, it sounds like they may be taking some steps backward. So that fight is not over, because I think that that's a critical component. Some of the justifications that I heard from the call was that they, now that we're in the stay-at-home order, these aren't the priorities. But just like my comments earlier on, we need to stop thinking just at the stay-at-home order and start really thinking longer term. And we're going to be back to the purple, which has restrictions, and how we continue to support our small businesses and give our residents safe opportunities to do business, I think are critical. So just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. Matt, you and I can chat afterwards as well on maybe some other formal processes, but I just wanted to let the group know that I don't plan to let that one go. And that I'm going to keep fighting for that, because we did work really hard to fine tune it, get staff on board with it finally, get it to the front of the Board of Supervisors, get the board to approve it in concept, and kind of taking a step backwards now. So I just wanted to at least let everyone that information of what's kind of going on behind the scenes.
Is that the $16 million, Daniel?
No, that's part of the $2 million that they brought forward last week, and they were going to allocate, I think, 1.3 of it to new businesses as well as community sponsored projects.
But
go ahead, Alice.
I was just going to say, I thought they voted on it. I thought the board already voted on that. So I mean,
they voted on concept, and I would have argued that with direction, but yeah, I would agree with you that I think that the direction was pretty clear that how they voted, and so to go back without bringing it back to the public process. So I plan to get ahead of it, and I'll communicate to the rest of you, because we may just all need to do our part to advocate. It didn't take much to advocate support from our Board of Supervisors the first round. Everybody was like, yes, that's a great idea. I wish we had thought of it. And so this may not be a big issue with our elected officials. And again, I'm not, I don't know all the motives between staff, and I know that they're trying to juggle a lot of other demands for a small piece of money, but I think that from my perspective, it's critical. We've been talking about this. We've been, we're ready to go, and so we cannot let this fight go without really pushing back.
Yeah, can I jump in real quick, Matt? Daniel, I was on that call too, and I had the same thought when I heard Jan, I think it was Jan, start to say, like, we're not sure if this is best use of funds, and I'm like, well, this is, we can't be married to a 3-week time frame right now. Like, to everybody's point on this call, we're not going from lockdown to wide open. It's that gradual step back. So I'm happy to help however I can, because I was on that same exact call, and I had the same thought. So I definitely think that was a great creative use of packaging to come up with what I think they were intending for that money. So I think there's a good chance of getting that still. It is probably important to move quickly though, right? Because they allocate by the end of the year, I think. So
yeah, it'd be very short-sighted county staff to think that we're going to be done with this in 3 weeks and people aren't going to be hurting even worse at the end of this 3-week period and need the help more than ever. So yeah, keep us posted, Daniel. Obviously, whatever we can do to kind of help motivate the supervisors to continue with the program that they discussed will be important. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much. Our next meeting, I will get with John and we'll discuss whether or not we want to have one next Friday, Jackie as well. I think it is going to be pretty critical through the holiday period for us to keep in touch. So I'm as of this moment thinking that we will have one next Friday just to kind of keep momentum, whatever momentum we've got, we can kind of maintain. So I see thumbs up from Jackie. So Amy, we'll get that agenda put together and put out. Thank you.
Well, and especially because the one after that, I believe, is Christmas.
Christmas. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
So, we're all staying at home, so I know I'm available. That's John.
All right, everybody. Hey, thanks so much for everybody tuning in. Have a wonderful weekend and shop local.
Bye.